Okay, Hacksaw and John have talked extensively about a need for a salary floor in baseball.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hal Steinbrenner, out of the clear blue sky on Wednesday night, said, I'd be in favor of a salary cap. What? Owner? Going public? I'm in favor of a floor to spending too. I want a base. And he says, if you're taking my revenue sharing money out of New York and you're in Kansas City or you're in Oakland or you're in Detroit, the have-nots in baseball, I want a floor to spending. And he says the union will fight us, but all we need to do is look across the street at the NFL model and how their salary cap works for everybody, because the salary cap limits people from going crazy, but it pays the stars. The salary cap includes a floor to spending in the NFL, where the Green Bays and the Cincinnatis have to spend close to the bottom figure. And the cap goes up every year because the cap is based on the revenue stream. So if baseball is exploding in terms of intake of revenue, that means the cap's going to go up. So what's the negative if it makes Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and Baltimore and Kansas City and maybe Oakland, Las Vegas, makes them more competitive because they're going to have to spend? And I'll guarantee you, Tony Clark and the union, they're going to fight this too. But Tony Clark needs to represent everybody. He needs to represent the Michael Wakas of the world, who could get a better payday if all those small market teams who have been spending money, if they were forced to spend the revenue sharing money, good players like a Michael Wacha would wind up going to Kansas City or Baltimore. And you wouldn't have a Kansas City Royals team that's 18-51, or the A's are 19-51 at this point. So Hal Steinbrenner out of nowhere starts actually talking about a salary cap, which is it's kind of a mortal sin. And then he's challenging the union, put more money in the Michael Wacha's pockets of the world and make these other teams better. And then Scott Boras comes out of nowhere, and he and Steinbrenner don't see eye to eye. And Scott Boras, who's got opinions on everything, of the opinion, and he only deals with mega players. Right. He doesn't deal with the Michael Wacha's of the world. Says, Florida spending, got to do it 3 years in a row if you're going to take revenue sharing. So baseball needs to agree to talk about this in the offseason. But I think it's a solution because we've got the floors in every other sport. And what does every other sport have? A lot of real competitive balance for the most part. I grant you there are a few garbage teams. Detroit Pistons of the NBA have been down forever. You know, the Ducks have gone through a very painful rebuild. But if you have to spend to a certain level, that makes more money available for guys to go play, put your sweater on, wear your uniform, play in a game. I'd like to see that negotiation take place. And I know salary cap is a forbidden term, but if it's linked to the gross revenue coming in the door, and baseball's revenues have just rocketed, just like the NFL. So that would mean the cap would go up for every star player, and it'd be more money going to the other guys in places like Kansas City, Pittsburgh, et cetera.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea, because you look at any other industry, they don't have salary caps, of course, but the difference in sports is that they're competing against each other, and you want something of as close to parity as you can get. And you don't do that in the semiconductor industry or anything outside of sports, but in sports, you want to not have, like, King Kong against, the midget ants every time. You need to have more balance. This makes sense to me. So the Florida spending seems like a really easy thing for them to agree on. The question is if they'll agree on the top number as well. But certainly Boras wants that bottom number boosted, so maybe some of his big guys can sign in Kansas City.
Okay, that's an interesting story. Hey, if you're with us on live stream, join us in the fans forum. Give us your quick take on salary cap and Florida spending. Do you agree or disagree with me? Don't just sit here and listen. We need you to participate. Next time.